Good day, good people. Welcome back to a new episode and a new week of Adult Black Dad. I am your host, Marcus A. Smothers, and I am back with another good episode. Matter of fact, this is a continuation episode of the Journey of Manhood Part 1. Tonight, we are going to jump into the Journey of Manhood Part 2. Before we jump into Part 2, I just want to give a major thank you to everyone who has been listening to the episodes, everyone that has been sending me emails, inboxing me, DMing me, just showing your love and showing your appreciation for what I am doing here. Again, as always, this is a vulnerable space that I'm allowing myself to be in. But I'm excited about it. People that I am not expecting to say something about it are being the people that have been rocking with me and have been talking about different things that they've joined or they've learned from the episode. And I guess the most important thing that people are enjoying is the authentic part of it, with me just being me, with me just opening up and me just sharing my experiences with life as they have unfolded. And again, I'm not an expert in any of the areas that I talk about. I'm just here showing and sharing some life experiences, and I just hope that it connects with someone. It provokes someone to have a conversation, or it may even pique you to say, hey, Marcus, I think this is a great topic. Let's talk about it. And I'm always open to create a space for us to have that conversation and that dialogue. Again, for us men, especially us men of color, we don't typically have those spaces. We don't typically walk into those areas. So I appreciate those who are on this journey with me and saying, bruh, just keep rocking. It's going to be hard. It's going to be emotional, but people are connecting and opening up and respecting the fact that I'm allowing myself to be authentic in this space. And I'm going to continue to stay true to that. So if you listen to the Journey of Manhood Part 1, I took you through a journey of my life, pretty much from 0 to 20, or right about when I had my first daughter. So this episode, I am going to take you from the birth of my first daughter up until 40. I just celebrated my 40th birthday on last week. Shout out to those people who were born in 1983. We are something different. Uh, but and so again, just buckle up for the ride. And if there are pauses in the conversation, it's me taking a pause. Uh, because when you do things like this, it brings back memories of stuff that we thought we were good with, but we may not be as good with it as we thought we were, or it just connects to some things and it's just still a hot topic for you. So here we go. So now we are at the birth of my first daughter, which is Michaela. A little backdrop: before I had Michaela, I was in school, in college, and um, just like, enjoying my life. So this is like me at 21 before I had Michaela. Um, I can legally drink now. You could do a lot more things when you're officially like 21. Um, but, my life started to take a different turn. I met Michaela's mom at the time. We talked for a little while. At the time that we found out that she was pregnant, we officially weren't like dating in a relationship like that. So that was one thing there. So we both agreed that we did not want to get into a relationship with each other or with someone just because she was pregnant. I think that was like something that her and I both agreed on early, was like, we're not about to force a relationship because we made a decision to have a baby, and that's not going to be fair to the child, and that's not going to be fair to us. And I'll even dig back into that more on a relationship and or marriage type conversation, because how you start relationships matter. So that's one thing. So now it's 2005. I am 22 years old, and I have my first daughter. This this changed a lot of things in perspective for me. The first thing that it did, it made me reevaluate my entire life. Like I said, I was in school full time at the moment. Um, Her mom was in school full time at the moment. She was studying in Gainesville. She was doing internships in Atlanta, doing internships in Cincinnati. So I get a phone call from her, and she tells me that she's pregnant. Um, and that's what it was. I immediately just started to make adjustments in my life. I was working at ViStar at the time, and yeah, it was a shocking moment for me. People say you shouldn't be shocked when you had kids when you do stuff to have kids, but that still wasn't the plan, but it happened. So now that Michaela is here, I tried to balance, going to school full time. Like I said, her mom was still actually like in Gainesville, going back and forth with school. So that was a big challenge for both of us. Um, I told myself that since this is my child, I immediately made the necessary change to stop going to school. It was a hard decision because you do so much in life, and you want to go to school and you want to go the traditional route. Um, and I'm in my major, I'm at UNF, and I'm enjoying things, but now I have a daughter, so now she comes first. So I immediately made the decisions to stop going to school, and I started working full time. So now I'm balancing being a first time dad, and now I am trying to figure this thing out. Like, it's difficult. I'll never forget one day I looked at Michaela and I was like, hey, this is your first time being a daughter, and this is my first time being a dad. We got to figure this out. But I love everything about my daughter. She, I don't know. I would not let her go for anything. She immediately changed my motive for life. She immediately gave me a little bit more drive for the things that I wanted to do in life. Um, as she got older, her mom went back to school for a little bit. We have an inside joke in our relationship that says that, for a hot minute, I was a single dad, so it was just me and Michaela thugging it out. So it's a little inside joke that we have. But for a moment, that's what the reality was. And one thing I will say is that I appreciate my village at an early age. And Michaela's, my wife's mom, her family, my mom, my family, my dad, everybody just gathered around us and supported us as we were two kids just trying to figure this thing out. Um, so right after that, we ended up being in a relationship, and we didn't date long like that. And so now it's 2007. I'm 24 years old, and now I'm getting married. So now, if you think about this, I'm now I'm now married and I now have a kid. And so now I'm 24 years old. Now I'm trying to figure out, well, I'm still trying to figure out how to be a dad and a father. I also got to now try to figure out how to be a husband. Because if you remember way back in the first episode, I talked about how a lot of times when you add more things to your life, you have to be mindful that your personal needs or sometimes yourself drops in that totem pole. So now I went from instantly being number one in my own totem pole. Boom. I got a daughter, so I drop. Boom. Now I'm married. I drop again. So I can't just move like I want to move. Now I definitely have two other pieces to consider before I make any major moves or any major decisions in my life. So again, I'm trying to figure out how to be a dad. I'm trying to figure out how to be a husband. And this is a 2-year period. Things were hard at the beginning. I will say this. Again, I always try to speak my reality on things. I had expectations of what I thought a marriage should be. I had hopes and dreams of what I thought a marriage should be or would be, but it definitely was not that. I tell people I'm 24 years old and she was 23 years old at that time. So we're now trying to take these years of our lives experience and trying to mesh them into one. And that takes time. Um, I had representation of what marriage looked like, but again, my direct relationship with my parents, they were divorced, saw some things. My wife's parents, they were divorced. We saw some things. So we're just trying to figure this thing out. Like, how can we make this thing work? And as a man, how can I now balance this house, balance these kids, balance this wife? And so now, while we're still trying to figure things out, now we're in 2009 and we're now married for 2 years and I'm now 26. But guess what? We have another baby on the way. And if you're a visual person, now continue to look at that totem pole. That totem pole is I'm starting to get lower and lower and lower on that totem pole. And I'm starting to have to focus on my house and my family. Marcus, when did you ever focus on Marcus? And I always felt like my goal and my mission now is to always take care of my family. Whatever you got to do, you take care of your family. You got what you got to do, you take care of your family. But prioritizing or having someone to tell me that I have to take care of myself while I'm taking care of my family, I have to professionally develop myself while I'm trying to invest in everything else, but I don't know a balance. So Marcus just became, do what you got to do to make sure your kids are taken care of. Do what you got to do to make sure that your wife is taken care of. You suck it up. You go be all right. You a man. You figure it out. You just work this thing out. And that's how it was. I'm working 2 jobs, trying to figure out this thing called life. And now that I got kids, and so I finally finished school. I did have an opportunity to go back to school, but guess what happened? And 3 years later, we got another baby. So now it's 2012. I'm 29 years old. I've been married for 5 years. And now I have daughter number 3. That totem pole is getting more and more higher, and I'm getting lower and lower. And I know somebody's probably listening and was like, well, just stop having kids. Stop having kids. Yeah, this is a real show. We ain't always talking about doing protection when you're married. It sounds like that. People are like, well, you should be on birth control if you don't want to have no kids. If you feel to sit here and complain about it, you should have stopped having kids. Well, it is what it is. Again, I'm 26 years old. I'm married, 29 years old. I'm not thinking about that. But now my wife and I are, both of us are now just focusing on kids. We're not focusing on each other yet. We haven't had it. So now, if I think about this now, and again, this is just like me walking through a lot of topics, and now that I'm thinking about it, like, okay, Marcus, if you really having time to focus on you and develop yourself and grow you up, now at 40, looking back, was your wife been having time to figure herself out too? Or were you both just functioning? And I think we both were just functioning at that moment because we had some older couples in our lives that we gleaned from, or we got some things from, or we were able to learn some things from. But there were just some things in ourselves that we just did not dig into. And I can speak for me that I just did not dig into as a man. And I didn't have that consistency to share. Or let me say this. I did have consistent people who I could have talked to or shared with, but my pride did not allow me to do it. My pride would not allow me to say, hey, I'm struggling as a man. My pride would not allow me to say, hey, bro, I don't know what to do. I got this stuff going on with these kids at home. I'm stressed out and I'm ready to hang it up. I'm ready to just walk away from this because statistics tell you that most men, when things get hard, they're out. That's what it tells you. It tells you that for the average man, black man, when things get hard, they just up and leave. And now we're literally, as they say, we leaving the women to hold the bag. But what kind of guy would I have been to just walk away from that? And I'm not discrediting anybody who made decisions that they felt like they had to make at that time. Again, I'm talking about me and my situation. I refuse to walk away, even though I wanted to. And like I said before, I could have had other conversations with other men, but that pride, listen. That pride that sits heavy on us as men, it can be a good thing to be very prideful in certain things, like in your work ethic and your character. Like you're very prideful about high standards that you may keep, or you can be trustworthy, or different parts of your character that you can be happy about. But there's a side of pride that we men can sometimes sit on that can cause us to miss out on a lot of stuff. Sometimes we cannot even appreciate the women in our lives, your spouse, your girlfriend, your mother, because your pride won't allow you to open yourself up to it. Well, sometimes we can't even appreciate the other men in our lives, because sometimes we really can have those real quality male to male relationships with each other. But sometimes, and a lot of times, our pride will not allow us to put our guard down and just say, bro, I need help. And this may sound how you want to take it. Sometimes you need a hug from another man. It ain't nothing gay about that. And I put that on whatever. There's nothing gay about it. But depending on what era you grew up in, yeah, that wasn't going to happen. It's probably more accepting now, but depending on what era you grew up in, Men hugging men wasn't a thing like that. And you wasn't about to be too vulnerable around another man to show how weak you are, because a man is going to compare. We go compare. You got this, I got that. We always trying to one up you. We always trying to one up each other. And not just sometimes sit and just be like, bro, what's the problem? And let that man have that issue. And so again, I know this may not be a popular topic, but through this part of my life, I think my pride caused me to have more issues than any other thing that I struggled with in my life. And now this is Marcus in his 20s. Struggled with a lot of things in his life. And it's like that pride was heavy. And it's not to say that it's not now, but I've gotten older. I got a little bit more wiser. But at that point, and I'm sitting here like 22, 24, 26, 29, a wife and 3 kids. But then guess what happened at 31? I got another baby. So now we are in 2014. I'm 31 years old. I've been married 7 years. And now the last of my daughters are here. What we doing? It's a lot. It's a lot to deal with. It's a lot to handle. It's a lot to balance. I will say this. My mom was like very helpful with a lot of things, and my mother-in-law was very helpful in our marriage. And I'm not gonna go too much into our marriage details. That's another topic on another thing. But this is just a journey in myself. Um, and as we talked about pride, I'm gonna share this one part of our marriage. You know, I'm thinking about like when my wife and I got married with our baby, we moved around a lot because our living situation was like very inconsistent. Like I'm not gonna say like we struggled, but there was some times that we struggled and it hurt me as a man because I wanted to do more in a consistent realm to provide for my kids and provide for my family. Um, I think one of the most prideful things that I had to shut my pride down was at one point I had to put my pride aside and we went and lived with my aunt because things had got bad. Things had gotten real bad as far as um, finances is concerned. So my pride had to be set to the side. And I think within that same year, we got our car. I got my car repossessed, and I ended up moving in with my auntie. Um, at one point in our marriage, we had moved in with my mother-in-law. I'm tell you now, when that pride is time to get worked on, we find ourselves in situations that's gonna work this pride. I'll never forget that was like one of the hardest conversations that I ever had to do was go and have a conversation with my mother-in-law, asking her if the man that took your daughter from you and said that he was going to take care of her, can he come and move in your house with your grandkids and your daughter? Yeah, I'm gonna let that breathe for a second. That was hard. And even on top of that, at one moment, we made a business decision because we wanted to buy a house, and we ended up moving in with my father-in-law. And he allowed us to stay there for a time because we wanted to save some money to buy a house. And again, that's pride. Like, listen, the journey of this pride walk, I guess that's the real topic of the night. The journey of manhood is how well can you deal with your pride? Like, will you allow your pride to dictate how you live or to dictate how you handle situations? At what point can you swallow your pride and do what's best? And like I said, I was put in plenty of situations where I had to swallow that pride up and do what was needed to be done for my family and needed to do what's being done for Marcus. Um, like, I'm kind of scattered and I'm kind of everywhere. I guess that's what happened when you try to run an authentic show. Um, it's serious. It's serious. I want to go back. Um, like, I struggled with my identity, and I talked about that. I struggled with my identity. I always felt like I was not. I don't know. I wasn't your typical dude, as they would say, as it relates to the streets or relates to certain things. I was myself, but I never felt like I had anybody who I identified with. Um, until I got older, and I'll talk about my uncle Gwynard Davis. He's gone now. Um, my uncle was probably one of the first men that consistently spoken to me. Um, he consistently was there when I needed him. Um, he would always speak up for me in situations that happened. Um, he lived down in Palmetto, Florida, and whenever he would come in Jacksonville, um, there was no way he was coming in town, and I did not see him, or he did not make sure we saw each other. One of the main reasons why I like to see him was because he had this Chrysler Sebring, all black, with drop top, and he used to always let me drive. I don't know if my mama knew he was letting me drive that car, but he used to always let me drive that car. And he used to always have me take him to ABC Liquor because he had a certain type of drink that he wanted. Now, did he share his drink with me every now and then? That's between me and him. But my uncle was like one of the first men I felt completely comfortable with like that. Um, Unfortunately, my uncle passed away, and I'll never forget this. My bad. I'll never forget this. Um, I had got a call that he wasn't doing good, and so I immediately rushed down to go and see him. And he wasn't doing good. He wasn't talking. He wasn't doing too much. He was at a facility, um, and he wasn't talking as much. I went into the room to see him, and he he said, "You look good, nephew. You look good." And I literally remember crying in that room because I felt like that was the final mode of affirmation that I needed for him to say that to me at that moment. And that was the last conversation we had. I said that to say, you know, as much as we may not admit it as guys, as men, we look for affirmation. We look for places where we can be ourselves. We love praise. Um, and there may be some men who might listen to this and be like, nah, that's not true. But men love to be praised. Men love to have reasons to beat their chest. But we also need those moments where we have another man to speak in our lives. And I know some of us have made it this far in our lives that we feel like we are great and we feel like we're good. And that may not has never happened to you. And that's great. But for some of us, it means something when another man that we value speaks well of us. And for me, that was my uncle. I appreciate him. I miss him to this day. Um, he he was an alpha man, in the sense of fraternities. And he didn't play by them alphas. He didn't play by them. So big shouts out to the alphas on behalf of my uncle. So yeah, that was that. Um, I'm sitting here thinking, and I'm like, I haven't even got to my 40s, to my 30s yet. That was just my 20s, because now I spent all my 20s having babies and figuring out marriage. So it's like, now what are we going to do? Because now you have these 4 kids, you've been married 7 years, and now you're entering into your 30s. So now my life has taken another shift that can be very much so drastic. All right, so we gonna wrap that for this week. I appreciate everybody who has tuned in. I thank you all for your time. I'm going to let you all go for right now. We're going to pick this back up. This was only supposed to be a 2-part, but this is going to be another part that I'm going to pick back up. There's a lot of other things that happened between 30 until now, and I really want to spend time and break that down. So next week, in the next episode, look out for that. So I'm going to extend this again. I appreciate everyone who's taking the time to come on this journey with me. I've realized this has just turned into a documentary. Tonight's episode was extremely hard for me. But I'm just like, I feel like I'm an open book for a reason. And if one person hears this and their life is made better, or I can help them through process something in their life, then I'm good. I mean, like, real talk, I'm good. So until next time, a dope black dad, your host, Marcus Smothers. And I just really appreciate y'all rocking with me tonight. I'll see y'all on the next episode. As always, I'm out. Yeah.